Inspanning Gateway. I'm Asia, and this is the orb. Okay, the orb that we're using, because there's many orbs. Numbers are endless. The universe is infinite, so we can understand that, right? But this is just a representation of the orb in which we live within, right? So, and its collection of information that we use daily. So, if we go into the definition of an orb, we know it's a state of being, of course, right? It's a window. We can see it as a window to this information, okay? Because this is a screen showing you information. Like, otherwise, if this board wasn't here, then you wouldn't be able to see the orb. So oftentimes orbs, right, are not seen. Just like this is the orb in its most simplistic form. This is just visually, right? Because we are visual beings and we use our vision to understand information. So if we were to look at the orb, we wouldn't be able to see all the information within it, the energies and all that. This is just how we're able to identify. And then by study of life, because this is life, before it's astrology. Astrology is just a science, a form of study of life, because there's many different studies of life that we separate ourselves into. But I just want to show the correlation of information so you can see how it exists in other forms and other types of information. But this is the basis of it, because this is the foundation of which it is built on. Everything is built on. Everything can be traced back to this. And I'm not saying this exact form, because this is my creative work, but that energy is there regardless of if I identify it or not. And this is just my way of identifying it that I use for myself and other people use for themselves. So I'm just showing that this is a way to identify, especially when it comes to you and you building your forms. Let's see. Yeah, it's a spear, right? With the cross. This is why the cross is very important, because that is also a container of information. Cross can represent many things. Here's the horizon, and then the depths, and then the heights. Heights can be identified mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically, right? Because if your height is high, your location is high mentally, which is the nighttime represented in astrology, especially with Sagittarius and learning and spirit, the 9, completion, then you are in higher thoughts and a higher perspective, a broader, you're more out in space, and you're able to look down at the horizon and have a broader perspective of things than be, depending on where you are mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I hope you're not in the dirt. But you feel what I'm saying? So heights can be represented in many different ways. And this is how we use the cross. Mathematically, we use the cross, right? Especially when plotting points. This is how we find certain locations. This is how they use when they're flying out in space. Well, they do send stuff into space. That's a whole another story. But when they're flying airplanes, this is their navigation system. They have a cross usually. And this is also what? Our navigation system. But you have to be able to see it that way. It's a perception, but it's not a belief system. You can go into these things and see them for yourself, right? We can all identify with the horizon, the sky, okay? We can, if we want to look at it physically, we can look at it mathematically, numerically, okay? Because these also represent numbers, locations, and this is things that we do mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally. This is a map. This is a compass, okay? We all have a moral compass. We all have a cross. That's not just something outside of you. We all are a cross. You don't have to believe that there's no need to believe if you could see it for yourself. But if you don't, that's okay. But I think you have a cross. I think so, but you just don't know it. And then you're not going to carry your cross. You're not going to stand up. Just let it stand up and do what it do. But this is an orb, okay? And then lastly, a period, right? A period or revolution of time. This shows revolution. And it also spins, yes. So there's different time cycles that we can identify. But the orb represents time, a revolution or a period, a cycle. That is also an orb. A cycle is an orb. There's many different orbs. I'm an orb. You're an orb. But you got to see it that way. Or be able to perceive it, to sense it. Because that's spiritual. That's your spiritual connection, your own spiritual ability. Right?